Before we begin, this story contains depictions of violence and dark themes that some listeners may find disturbing. It is intended for a mature audience. This is a work of fiction. All characters, events, and incidents are products of the author's imagination. Viewer discretion is advised. With the determination in his head, soon after the dinner, he went out of the house, without the knowledge of his parents, as he intended to do. He couldn't let anyone know about it. He dressed up in that cloak, or robe, which he had made there. He took the mask along with him, and a knife too. He was filled with fear, anxiety, not knowing what might be going to happen there, or how, and this isn't the first time he has been that anxious. He has been anxious before, but this time, the situation is a bit different. He brought a little money with him, too, as without money, no prostitute will go along with him. There were scenarios going on in his head about how things are going to get. Some were in his favor, some not. He might get caught, or maybe not, but what he is going to do if he gets caught, he didn't know anything there, probably kill them. Been filled with anxiety, and he did not approach the first prostitute he saw there. No, rather, he maintained his distance from them, being quiet, having a little hard time deciding which one he should get. A young one, or maybe someone old, but that doesn't matter, as long as he gets one, but not at that moment. There's no time for that, as the people are still around. He needs to find someone alone, something which seems a little impossible to him, so he kept moving from one spot to another, hoping to find someone alone. "What's the matter with you? Can't make a move here," said the ring, as he remained quiet, moving his eyes around. "You are just wasting my time here. Just approach anyone, or if you desire to go back to your mother." He certainly did not like what the ring just said there. "Don't you dare say anything about her." Been there, away from everything, and he seemed to have engaged in an argument with the ring. Well, for him, he was having an argument, but being outside, he was just talking to himself, and he did not realize that, not until it was a little too late, as there came a voice. "What are you blabbing there?" said a voice. He was quiet as he heard it, and slowly turned towards that way, and there he saw a woman standing there, in a rather revealing gown. She was old enough to be his mother, face covered in wrinkles, messy hair. "Go home, kid, this is no place for someone like you," she said as she started to walk away from there, and him being standing there, he was just watching her get away from there. "Don't let her go," said the ring. He hesitated at first before he called for her. She stopped and turned towards him. "What?" she said as he moved towards her. "Are you a prostitute?" he asked her as he got closer to her. And she certainly did not like being called that. She has anger on her face. "What if I am? What do you want?" she shrieked. His heart was thumping. "Will you make love to me?" he said, as she laughed. "Go home, kid, don't get me in any trouble," she said there. She had started to walk away from there, before he ran towards her, calling her, and came to a stop right in front of her, stopping her there. "I have money," he said as he poured money out of his pocket and just showed it to her. There's a brief pause between them as she stared at the money for a moment or so. She gasped, pinched her upper lip. "What are your intentions, kid? Do you even know what you're asking for what I even do?" she questioned, just to be certain of it. Been hearing her, he just shook his head a little. "I know what I am asking, Di." She chuckled a little there, smiled at him. She looked around a little there. "And have you ever done it before, or is it going to be your first time?" He smiled inside, but did not say the truth there. "I have never done it before," he lied with an innocent face. Looking at that face, it looked emotional, more like a puppy to her. "And you seriously desire your first time with a whore, who is old enough to be your mother?" She took a pause there. "How old is your mother?" she questioned him, as he was quiet, having been thinking about it. More of him was annoyed from inside, and certainly wanted to strike her at that moment there, but he did not do such a thing. Rather, he kept everything inside of him, showing her a quiet and innocent face there. "I don't know, maybe in her late 40s, he said to her. She laughed. "You kids these days, been growing up a little too fast," she said to herself, as he gasped there. "Just tell me whether you do it or not, so I can move on and maybe find someone else." She laughed a little as she heard it. "You can try if you want to, but the amount of money you have, you certainly are not getting a young one, and if you desire a virgin, you need a whole fortune for that, and I doubt you have anything like that, and besides me, all you are getting from that money is a grandma, which I guess you don't want." "I can work with a grandma," said the ring with the laughter, as he just ignored him. "Come with me," she said as she stretched her hand towards the money, but he pulled it away from there and put it in his pocket. "Not yet, you will have it when I see these clothes getting off, and you are coming with me to my spot." There's a sort of pride on her face when she hears those words. Acting like a man, trying to be tough. "Good," she smiled at him. "Then let's go," she said to him, as they started to move away from there. Been there and been talking. A lot of time has passed by there. It's darker and quieter than it was before. They moved forward from there. "Where are you taking me?" she questioned him, as he chuckled a little there. After walking for a while, they ended up in her alley. She was quiet, looking around from there. Your first time and you wanted to make love over a dumpster, she said it with a chuckle. Like you never made love over a dumpster before. As she heard that, the smile on her face was just vanishing from there. Been standing there in silence, she glared at him for a moment or so. Kid or a man, you all are assholes, aren't you? She said, as he asked her to remove her clothes there. She smiled as she started to do it there. A moment later, she was standing there bare, caressing her body, as he stared at her with his eyes, moving closer to her. He stretched one of his arms forward and was about to touch her when she struck his hand. Ouch, what are you doing? He cried a little there, as she smiled ear to ear at him. You wanted to move further than that. It's going to cost you, she said as she gestured for him to give the money. He stared at her wrinkled hand there, lost in his thoughts for a moment, before he looked right at her face. Another pause, before he smiled at her. He put one of his hands in his clothes to take the money out of there, which is what she thought he was doing. But instead of money, he took out a knife. Her smile faded as she saw that. What's the meaning of this? She said those words there, when he swung his arm forward to strike her. But before he was to strike her, she cried and pushed herself back from terror, having dodged that attack there. She started to run away, going as fast as she could, but she wasn't as fast as he was. He caught up to her and, doing so, struck her with the knife. The knife was pierced right into her back, as she tripped, and fell there. He twisted the knife before he dragged her into the alley. She was crying. He was holding her by her feet as he brought her back into the alley. There, he used her clothes to tie her hands and feet, as he took the knife out, turned her on her back, and stuffed her mouth with a piece of cloth. He stood there in silence, breathing heavily as he looked right at her, filled with anxiety there, as he looked around a little from there, wondering if anyone had heard her. It didn't seem like that way. Been leaving her in the alley, and he went to check out, but there was no one else there. Seeing that, he was just relieved there. He returned to her, was calm, and sat next to her, still holding the knife in his hand. You shouldn't have done that, he said to her as he smiled. He put the knife on the road, as he started to caress her body there. You almost gave me an heart at ATCK, thought you were going to get away, but seems like, he chuckled a little there, before he sat over her, and with his trousers down, engaged in the act of lovemaking, what he would thought of it as. He kept going on for a few moments, as she was crying, struggling to free herself from there, and drowning in the pool of her blood. What do we have here? Came a voice from far away. He had been hearing those voices. He looked towards them, and a little distance from where he was, at the beginning of the alley, he saw two shadows, headed right towards him. The anxiety returned, as he stopped doing whatever he was doing there. He took hold of the knife, as he took out the mask and covered his face, been standing there, holding the knife in his head, with a thumping heart. He was ready to attack them. They came closer. WHSITLED, what's going on here? They looked at him, and then he looked at her on the ground. There's a little pause between them, before they sat there on their knees, right next to her, slide their fingers through the blood, lick it, before they started to laugh hysterically. They rose on their feet there. My man, you know your way to treat a whore, one of them said to him, as another one added, want to share her with us. It's been a long time since we have any action. He heard them. They weren't kids there, but rather men, bigger than him in age and size. They could easily overpower him, so he agreed to what they had asked him. They thanked him for that, and, having taken off the clothes, they engaged with her, as he just stood there and watched them, as that's all he could do there. Seeing them doing the things they were doing to her, he couldn't let himself do what he wanted to do, as for some reason, he himself was disgusted there. As they were finished with her, she was there in a situation far worse than she was before. One of them scoured through the dumpster that was lying there, and in there, they found a rusted steel pipe, which they inserted into her private part, and with that being done, she was lying there without any movement in her body.